Okay, today we're going to be solving polynomial equations in factored form. So factored form just means it's a product of two binomials or three binomials or several different terms, okay? So if you look, these are in what we call factored form. X minus 2 times x plus 3 equals 0. Now, we've just learned how to FOIL or to multiply this out, but that's not what they're wanting us to do. They're wanting us to solve for x in these problems. So it's actually very simple. All we have to do is take each binomial and set it equal to 0 because we know that each one is equal to 0. Our problem tells us so. So I'm going to write x minus 2 equals 0. And x plus 3 equals 0. All I need to do is solve for x in each one of these, obviously one at a time, and find what x equals. So I'm going to add 2 to this side, and x is equal to 2. There's my first answer. I'm going to subtract 3, x is equal to negative 3. That is all that we are doing in these problems, okay? Now, an easy way to know how many answers you're going to have is count up the amount of variables that you have. In this one, we had 1, 2. So if I have 2 variables, I have 2 answers. If I have 1 variable, I have 1 answer. If I have 3 variables, I have 3 answers, so on and so forth, okay? So let's look at the next problem. X times x minus 2. How many variables do I have? 1, 2. So if I have 2 variables, I know I should have 2 answers, but this first x isn't like the ones in the first problem, okay? It's actually even easier. We just write x equals 0. There's 1 answer. And then I'm going to do this problem, x minus 2 equals 0. So I add 2, and x is equal to 2. There are my 2 answers. Now let's look at this next problem. How many variables do I have? 1, 2. So I know I'm going to have 2 answers. But what about this 5 on the outside? Okay. Actually, the 5 is a standalone number. And if I were to say 5 is equal to 0, is that true? No. So guess what? We totally ignore him. You say, wait, I thought we would do distributive property. You technically can, but all you're doing is making yourself more work because it's just not going to be in simplified form. So I just totally disregard that 5, and I'm going to do x plus 5 equals 0, and x minus 9 equals 0. Now, I would never disregard something with a variable, but since it's just a number, we can. So we subtract 5. X is equal to negative 5, add 9, and x is equal to positive 9. All right, let's do some more. Now, this says x plus 5 squared, which we learn means that x plus 5 is just written 2 times. So we're going to have x plus 5 times x plus 5 equals 0. But let me ask you a question. Am I going to get a different answer when it's the exact same problem? No. So let's go back to that rule that I just taught you. Count up how many x's you have in your original problem. 1. Yes, technically I know that there are 2, but we only see 1. So there's only going to be 1 answer for x because it's going to be the same for both of them. So I'm just going to disregard this squared. I really don't need to pay attention to it. And I'm just going to do x plus 5 equals 0. Subtract 5, and x is equal to negative 5. Okay, same exact thing in this problem. How many x's do I see? 1, so I know I'm going to have 1 answer. 2x minus 4 equals 0. So I add 4 first. 2x equals 4. Then divide by 2, and x is equal to 2. Okay, so the next problem, we're doing the exact same thing, only this time I have 3 x's. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to have how many answers? 3. 2x plus 1 equals 0. 3x minus 2 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. So the first problem, I'm just going to subtract 1. 2x equals negative 1. Divide by 2. X is equal to negative 1/2. Add 2 to both sides on the next problem. 3x is equal to 2. Divide by 3, x is equal to 2/3. And then the last one, we just add 1 to both sides, and x is equal to 1. Okay, so the last one that we have, we're going to do the exact same thing. X minus 4 is equal to 0, x plus 6 is equal to 0, and 4x plus 3 is equal to 0. Solve for x in each of these. So I add 4, x equals positive 4, subtract 6, x equals negative 6, then subtract 3, 4x equals negative 3, divide by 4, and I get x is equal to negative 3/4. So that is my answer for each of these, okay? And that's how we solve equations in factored form.